Well. You're listening to Gloves Off with Professeur Buitrón. Alright then, I may say words on point, straightforward. No jibber jabber, everybody forward. Issues, facts and solution. Get it at Gloves Off with Professor Buitrón. Alright, what other thing is a revolution? Get it on point with Professor Buitrón. Gloves Off, no nonsense issues, politics, community. A better men for Laredo. Gloves Off, a revolutionary show with everything that you need to know. With Professor Buitrón. Watch ya!
The following political paid advertisements do not reflect the political opinions of the program or its associates. Any political campaign or candidate who wishes to purchase advertising can do so. Advertising is open to all on behalf of Gloves Off.
Back at you, Gloves Off, and we're wearing face masks because we're in coronavirus lockdown, as everybody knows. We have one of the leaders of Laredo, and that's the Fire Chief, Chief Landin. How are we doing, Chief? You doing good?
I'm doing good. Thank you for the invitation.
Thank you for standing up and taking the role, and we'll talk a little bit about what's been going on. A lot of people do not know the back scenes, the backstage of what's going on both in both municipalities of Webb County as well as Laredo, but right now we're talking about what Laredo is. And tell us, what are the new things that do you foresee in the near future?
Well, you know, what I see happening right now and in the future is that we need the community to continue to cooperate, and for the ones that aren't fully cooperating, we ask for their participation in that. And abiding by the restrictions that the city council, mayor, the judge have put in place in order to flatten out the line of potential exposures in our community to coronavirus. What I see happening is with the public's cooperation, we can get back on track and get back to normal. One of the positive things, or one of the things that is a plus for us as a community, and where Laredo is a very warm climate, coronavirus doesn't like the heat, and we're getting into those periods of time where the temperature goes up, and because of that, coronavirus isn't really, it's going to have a hard time itself surviving. But the main thing here is to take all precautions to prevent the spread of the virus. It is a very, very contagious virus. I have very, very dear friends that work in the emergency rooms, that work in both hospitals and clinics, and they themselves are seeing the patients show up that feel sick. My ambulances, the fire department units are going and picking up patients in the ambulance. And so it's a very serious illness, and we need to do our best to prevent the spread of it. And the best thing to do is, if you don't have to be out of your home, relax with your family in your home. And if you do, maintain a safe distance from the person, and wearing the mask is very, very important. If just maintaining the distance and the mask is a big plus that helps reduce the risk of getting potentially exposed to coronavirus.
Chief, those are some good insights, but let's talk about some of the ordinances that have changed. First, it was 14 days, then they extended it. Then all of a sudden they come back and they say, well, you have to wear masks outside of your house as soon as you step out of your house. Then all of a sudden they change, you can't take, if your child is under 14, to the grocery store. All those precautions we understand. But there's one going on with a lot of people talking about how the health department wants people who mandatory have masks inside their house. Isn't that a little bit crossing more into the civil liberty rights?
I was
infringing on that?
I was in a meeting where that was brought up. And in that meeting, Dr. Victor Trevino, who's our City of Laredo Health Authority, told the mayor and council that he would recommend the wearing of the mask inside the home. What, in my opinion, because I'm also a paramedic, in my opinion, what I think the doctor was talking about was the person that's outside of the home for a prolonged period of time, and maybe in the healthcare profession or working in an environment where there's more people at, coming home from a day's work and interacting with their families and potentially exposing them. It's not for the ones that don't leave the home, that are constantly at home, haven't been exposed. The exposure is a person that's going in and out of the home, going into high traffic potential areas such as doctors' clinics,
Sure.
healthcare facilities. They're in constant touch with that. And I think Dr. Trevino was saying, how do we minimize exposing our loved ones? Well, maybe getting home, going straight into the shower, and wearing a mask around them to protect them. But that wasn't put in place. It's recommended, but it's not been put into an ordinance per se. Because how do you patrol that? How do you? You can't. You can't. So ultimately, it's not anything that's going to be put in writing.
So if and if it is, are the police going to go knocking down every door, or the firemen going knocking down inspectors? It's going to be a total mess.
It is, and that's why I won't go there.
And I see a lot of things with the protection that we have, the lockdowns that we have, Laredo, the position of where Laredo is in the map, the way Texas is, the way the governor's behaving. Now, and the reason I say this, we have American citizens, legal abiding American citizens coming in from Louisiana and coming in from other states, and they're being quarantined at the Texas border. But yet our bridges are open.
Yeah.
And they're coming back and forth. I understand our President Trump, he said, let's keep the Mexican commerce going. Commerce is one thing, but going back and forth just to go get a drink and then come back here, I go across to Nuevo Laredo. And for folks out there, when we in Laredo say across, that means Nuevo Laredo, because when we grew up, we could literally walk across and come back, and there was really no problems. So we grew up that way. So, but now, you can still cross the bridge and come back. Well, you cross the bridge, you take this off, do whatever you want, come back here, put it back on. Well, so there's not really no protection.
What they did, we have people from Nuevo Laredo on our 11 a.m. daily briefings, and they themselves tell us that the same regulations that Laredo has put, they're pushing on their people, they're requiring their people, the people are staying home. I think a lot of people were staying home already in Laredo because of the violence. You'll hear, violent activity, violent outbursts at any time of the day or night over there.
Absolutely.
So there was already a reduction of people. There was already a reduction of people crossing to Mexico from here, except for probably the customs brokers and people that have business in Nuevo Laredo. So there was already that reduction going on. Now, moving forward with what Nuevo Laredo is literally telling us in our briefing that they are increasing their protection with the mask. I have seen photos of individuals lined up at the bridge without them. And
course.
so I believe that they still need to continue pushing it
And
and
that's
educating them.
excuse me for interrupting, Chief, but what gets me is, here somebody comes in, an American citizen from Louisiana, and they're slapped with a 14-day quarantine
Yeah,
by our governor.
Yes.
And here we have Mexican nationals
just coming through.
coming across, and they basically do whatever they want and go back. I mean, so we can lock down how much we want, and if that doesn't stop, it's
Yes.
not really gonna do anything. It's gonna be ever going. So that's where it gets me into, has this virus been politicized, which many people believe it has. And and let me get this out of the way, is that when is enough gonna be enough? Let's go back with our normal lives, and people say, no, we can't go back with normal lives because people are gonna die. We basically have been placed in the defensive. Many rights have been trampled upon, especially our First Amendment rights this past weekend were basically stepped on left and right by many people in our leadership positions. I'm Catholic, you're Catholic. I don't frequent church as much as you do, but that doesn't mean I don't pray. And that doesn't mean that I'm not going to say to you as a Catholic, don't go pray if you want to go pray at church, or my Jewish brothers to go pray at the synagogue, and my Muslim friends to go pray at the mosque. There has to be, let's get back to normal. And I think here's something that we have to look at. We have to stop the virus, or at least control it. It's going to be with us for a long time. We have to bring back a living means for the city and for America and for the world to start making money again. Because we have a lot more issues coming of age in 2 months, 3 months. Okay? And the last is putting back our government to realize their totalitarian ways that they got habitually involved in, to come back to the Constitution that this republic was made out of. Those 3 fights that we have coming up ahead. What do you think about that?
I agree that there's got to be a point where we go back to being normal. And I have heard on the different conference calls and meetings that I've been part of, to where people are saying that they could see the path back to normal. But it's not a path of an abrupt flipping of a switch. It's going to be reintegration back into what needs to be done. I think that if the people, like I said at the very beginning of our conversation, if the people sacrifice for the short front end of this, which has been a big sacrifice for the people, nobody likes to be restricted, to say stay home, don't take children to the grocery store, don't go one person only to get your necessities. Those are types of things that we're used to saying, hey, let's go to Walmart, let's go to Sam's, let's go to H-E-B, let's go to dinner somewhere. We can't go anywhere. I mean, if you go to Sam's, I'm telling people on my conference calls, hey, only send one person from the family. It's not a family outing. It's a trip to pick up necessities for your family. I hope and pray that we get back to normal soon. The business community is hurting, and we need to bring a sense of normalcy back to the community, no doubt.
You know, I look at it in many ways. You know, I have a small business here. The city has literally forgotten about small businesses in general. Period. The only two councilmen that literally cared and called, hey, how can we do was Mercurio Martinez and Vidal Rodriguez. The only two. The rest of them, and I'm not the only one. I mean, right here in this vicinity, you can track, and you know very well. There's at least these 2 blocks. There's at least 70 businesses.
Yeah.
I've talked to at least 30 of them because we know each other. We've been here for such a long time, and people are afraid. Now, there's a lot of things being in the home that we need to start taking care of as a community. You know, we have a lot of children that were abused. They live in abusive homes.
Yeah.
Not only sexually, molestation, they're beating up, you know, from the parents or somebody in that household. Now we place them in danger.
Yeah.
And they're there every day. I mean, that's something that we have to understand that's happening.
Sorry about that for interrupting, Paul, but yes, you're right. There's psychological implications
yes.
to this whole thing, and there's children that their most precious time is the time that they are at school.
Yes.
Because the household isn't very balanced. The household is probably not well. And so ultimately, yes, you're very right.
Domestic violence
has gone up. We've gotten reports from the police chief that has happened.
It's going to happen, you know. Things that I couldn't see, like, okay, you all cannot go to church. Well, I invite you to church, but the liquor store is open.
Yeah.
I'm like, what's essential for that? You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
I mean, and so you're like, you have the fire and you just you're dousing it with gasoline around, you know, trying to, and the fire's, it's going to catch.
Well, let me say this. Our orders are in line with the governor's orders.
Sure.
Our city orders
Or not.
They are. Our city orders are in line. The only difference where the city has gone above and beyond is the masks. We were the first, at the recommendation of the medical authority, Dr. Victor Trevino, and at the recommendation of our health director, Dr. Hector Gonzalez. So between both of those recommendations and the medical community, I had a meeting with over 20 medical professionals just during the week. I meet with them often. And I asked them point blank, tell me what you think about the regulations put on by the city through our ordinance. Is it too strict? Is it where we need to be? Or do we need to go further? And all of them said, we're at the right place right now. At this point, let's see how this impacts the rate of the spread of the disease. And if it doesn't improve, then we might have to go to stricter measures. Stricter measures, what could that be? Maybe gloves, goggles. Some people are already doing that.
Sure.
But
Some guy with a gas mask.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, and my son, I was with him in the car, and my son's wearing his mask, and this guy came in with a gas mask, and I said, you know what, you have 2 of them from different periods. You want to wear one? He started laughing.
Yeah.
But it's true, people are taking it to the extremes. People are walking in fear.
yes,
And that's where leaders such as you and such as our city manager can come out and basically console the people and tell them, you know what, we're doing this for betterment. And that's what a true leader does.
and Mr. Eads and myself on the conference calls are very, we talk to the people. The health director tells us the numbers, tells us what they're seeing from the health perspective. The mayor and the judge, Judge Tijerina, Mayor Sines, we get on every day at noon and we give everybody a rundown, and then we tell them point blank, what you need to do is try to stay home as much as possible, wear your masks when you go to the store to get your necessities, and try to only send one person there. We try to calm them, no doubt, but when you have 8 people dead already, it makes it difficult for some people. I have a very dear friend of mine, he's like a little brother, and he told me, man, this is stressing me out, And I said, yeah, it's stressing a lot of us out, but ultimately I think there needs to be an internal peace that we need to reach within ourselves to be able to say, we can get through this one step at a time. And my peace is in Christ, and
Sure.
and trust in the Lord. But unfortunately, some people will get really sick.
No, and I mean, you're talking about suicides are going to go up, divorce rates are going to go up because of the financial stress. You're going to have, we're already seeing domestic violence. We had an issue this Sunday with a domestic violence case.
Yeah.
You're going to see all those erupt. And it's going to be hard one day to say, you know what, tell the kid's father he blew himself up and blew his head off and copped out of life because he couldn't pay his bills because the city closed down his business.
Yeah.
Over 8 people that died.
Yeah.
Understand what I'm saying? So I understand death. I understand life, and we have to die. That's understandable, but we have to come back to reality of what we have to do. I understand safety. And I used to teach safety, especially in the kitchen in many ways. Because, like I said, I'm an executive chef, and I used to teach safety classes to the masses. How to move around with sharp elements, what not to do. And I used to see, especially in Dallas, things that people did not, with common sense, do things like check the grease in the fryer to see if it's too level. Instead of looking here, they put their finger in it.
Mm-hmm.
So common sense, we have to come back into that common sense applicability of life.
Yeah.
And we have to move forward, and that's just the way it is. But we cannot, I think we're going to end up stripping too much, and we're going to have a different issue.
Well, I hope and pray that we come out of this soon. These next, I think, I know that the medical community is thinking that within the next 2 weeks, this week and next week, that we should start seeing some, the plateau starting to come down. And that's why I guess the governor wants just a little bit of extra time after it comes down to finally say, let's start turning on the lights again in some of these places.
And we have to understand that's going to come in. We have to also understand the abilities. People can say, you know what, they can forget the tyranny of some of these politicians of what they've enacted because of the safety issue, but they will not forget the financial burden that they were placed in. And some of them will pay the price in the next election. When they come up to turn for them to be running, you're going to see that switch of many. And I think we need that. It's going to be a new revival. When Easter just came in, I think we're going to see a new revival. A lot of things that's going to come of age.
I'll say this, that the city manager said this best in one of our meetings. He goes, we will be forgiven for overreacting, but if we were to overreact, people will never forgive us. And when he said that, and I heard those words, I thought to myself, overreacting, what is overreacting? Is this overreacting? Well, I don't think this part is, but maybe there are certain businesses that could continue to function as drive-thrus that maybe are not able to at this point. Pickup, curbside pickups, because I know restaurants are doing it, but maybe some of the other businesses that have been impacted, if they can continue to function through the drive-through capacity to make some sales If a restaurant can do it, why can't another business that relies on sales do a hybrid type of business to where people can still order and go by and pick it up?
No, you're absolutely correct. You know, in this past month, okay, a lot of things that were written by our forefathers have been trampled on. And we have seen the real face of what these individuals tyrannically became. And I mean, I'm going to use the word tyrannical, because they have imposed their views of what life should be. They're finally, especially the extreme left. And you see that. I mean, people for playing with a ball in a park where nobody's there, they arrested the father in front of a little girl. Having a governor send the state troopers in Kentucky to have church prayer and people were in the parking lot and they were writing them down and giving them a ticket. Having gun stores stopped, ammunition not sold. It continues. You know, there's going to be a backlash. The American people are only going to take so much before they tell you, you know what, we're more than you, and this is going to be the end of it. Well, it's coming to that time. Not only here in Laredo, but I'm not saying here. It's coming throughout the whole country, as per se, because those pressures are there. We have an excellent leader as our president, but each one of the 50 think that they can be more than him, and then the mayors think that they can be more than the governor. So they have to come back to reality of where they're at, especially on that feeding chain. Okay, and I think, and you're here, and you've worked with it, and you've done a lot of inspections with businesses. Businesses have to have a fire extinguisher. Some businesses, the way it is, have to have a door on the outside for people to leave back and forth. But if it's not been able to, you can't physically do it. You have to make sure that the access to the exit is always open, you know?
Yes.
And all those things exist. But sometimes people kind of say, well, your business is my friend's business. You're the brother or so-and-so of my friend over here. So you have to overlook that. Morality is going to be, no, we have to do it the plain throughout everybody. Understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
And that's when we can not stop. We have to continue that order. It cannot be subjective, and that's what I think has happened with a lot of the businesses here. This one can stay open, and that one cannot. This one can stay open, and that one cannot.
I think the order was drawn up in line with the governor's order. And so can it be amended to a certain extent? From what I understand, the governor's order supersedes ours. And so ultimately, we're operating under those. The only thing that we did more as a city is the mask. And the mask when you're outside walking or running. Heck, just sitting here talking to you with this mask, and I jog every now and then. I don't think I would feel comfortable jogging down the street with the mask, you know? As a jogger, I mean, I used to go to a gym up until it closed recently. I'm not used to wearing a mask to go for a jog or run, or even at the gym when I was there, I was without a mask. So ultimately, the masks are very difficult for that type of outdoor activity.
I think masks are going to be something that's going to be used for a while. But there's, you know, I was listening to a doctor, and he's also a senator, and he was talking today, and he was talking about how being secluded, is it really giving us the antibodies for this bacteria, for this virus in the future?
Yeah.
And he says basically the people that are sick, the elderly, those that are in that risk, they have to be secluded away. But the normal people should be going back and forth, because that's the only way we're going to end up eventually building the antibodies for this virus.
True.
And if that never happens, we're never going to see that change.
That's true.
And he goes, I think now it's time to, let's go forward and let's start building that up, because we're probably gonna get hit in the winter, we're probably gonna get hit next year when everything comes back again. And where's that gonna be again? Are we gonna lock down again? So we need to really look at everything. Like I said, thank you for doing what you've been doing, and thank you for leading the way you've been doing it, because I don't say that because you're here. Okay, I've been watching everything that's been going on, and both you and the city manager have earned your salt. You're worth your salt, as they say.
Thank you for those comments. I'm humbled, and I've always told myself every day before I leave the house, when I say my prayers, I always ask God to help me be the person, the leader that He wants me to be, with humility and love for my fellow citizens. And so ultimately, I get my strength through Christ, and I ask Him to help me get through my day. And up to now, I know that that's the reason that I've been able to be the leader that I've needed to be during this incident. Can I be better? I think we all have moments where we realize, man, I could have done that a little better.
Of course.
But ultimately, I'm very blessed to be part of trying to help get the city through this incident.
No, and I think the public officials that we have elected, nobody drafted them to be elected into office. They, by their own voluntary means, they put their name down. I'm going to run because I want to help the community. I think they better start standing up and helping the community and being voiced within their different districts and precincts. And you have a lot of them that are excellent, don't get me wrong. They're out there helping the community. But now it's time for them to be out there more so. Now it's time for the warrior to go in front of the charge like you all, and let's lead. Okay? The warriors are not needed. You don't see them until the battle comes in. Then they're going to step up. The sage is not going to come out until there's trouble in the community, and he's going to go out and talk and bring everybody back down and give his food of thought. And so I think everybody needs to as a community. And as a community, I think Laredo has to understand that the safety issues there, but livelihood is also needed. And we as a community need to embrace that and bring that together and move forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
And folks out there, if you guys are getting in trouble, if you're experiencing a lot of depression, please call Pilar of Laredo. They have an excellent program to help you out. And moms, kids, if you're seeing child abuse in any facets, please call the police. Please call the chief. Please call somebody to help you. We'll be there. Call me. I'll get in touch with somebody. Okay. Till next time, we'll get through it. Laredo, be safe.
The following political paid advertisements do not reflect the political opinions of the program or its associates. Any political campaign or candidate who wishes to purchase advertising can do so. Advertising is open to all on behalf of Gloves Off.